We're live.
And welcome everybody to PM in the PM special afternoon edition for Pong and Mav in the PM because we got a special guest today. So we're going to start with him. But first of all, I want to say thank you for everybody showing up today and joining us for this special time. And if you're not joining us live, hey, you're catching us in the future. Guess what? This is going to be a great episode. So thank you all, no matter what time you're listening at chat. You're all looking beautiful. You're all looking lovely out there today on this Thursday afternoon. So let's get down to business. And we're going to start with our special guest. Look, obviously you can see him on camera. He needs no introductions. But of course, as a first timer on PM in the PM, he does get a special introduction. So our guest today is a myth and a legend coming to us from distant shores. You don't believe me? Gather around and listen closely. He is the keeper of Microsoft and Xbox code names obtained in the most dangerous and seedy underbelly of the gaming industry. He's the breaker of both news and men. Just ask Special Nick of Xbox Era about his continued nightmares from our guest invoking the all-powerful shrimp emoji. Or Randall Thor, whom was compelled by this man to play Peppa the Pig and record it. Our guest is also the destroyer of appetites as he wields the awe-inspiring beans and mayo gifs throughout Twitterland. His perfection of the American accent on the Xbox Two has hypnotized thousands into purchasing and grooming themselves with Manscaped. Oh yes, gamers. Our guest is the prophecies foretold of long ago, a connoisseur of finer things in life, whiskey, World of Warcraft, and the Kardashians, a man of adventure who once joined a cult for the fun of it. He is all of this and so much more. Chat, please put those clapping emojis in respect for the Batman to Randall Thor's Robin, senior editor at Window Central, the one and only Jez Corden, everybody.
Yay!
Well, thank you so much. That was the most amazing introduction ever. And I can't wait to send it to Rand later.
Yeah, he'll enjoy that.
Honor to have you here, Jez. Appreciate you showing up, brother. How you been, man?
I've been all right, mate. I've been all right. It's been a tough few weeks in the publishing industry. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter.
Yes.
Some companies have had layoffs. Some companies have shut down completely. But yeah, hopefully we'll get through it. Come out the other end stronger as soon as that Putin guy catches a bullet. Hopefully. I'm
always
say that.
Sure. We're free here. Yeah. Don't worry about it. No, it's always tough to see that happening though in any industry. So, but we are definitely glad you're here. You've been playing anything recently, Jez? Or you've been too busy?
Man, I've been. Since we had all this upheaval at work, I've been so busy because I've took on like a bunch of people's extra duties from all the people that lost their jobs, but there still needs to be done. So I have to do it now. Haven't got a pay rise to accommodate this, but yeah, it's eating into my gaming time a little bit. I haven't managed to play anything this week, I don't think. I played Deathloop very briefly, about 20 minutes or something. Yeah. But that's all. That's what I want to get through right now is Deathloop, I think, because what I played of it is really fun, and I did have it on PC, but I don't really like using my PC for gaming that much because I need a dual monitor setup so I can like have Twitter open at the same time, but I don't have the space because I live in this tiny box because I got no money. So. We'll see. It's a cascading sort of gallery of first world problems, basically. But that's awesome, they're kind of nice problems to have, right?
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah. But yeah, Deathloop. I really enjoy what I played of it so far. I like arcane games. I like immersive sims, and it's a very unique kind of immersive sim. So I want to get deeper into that. There's a few games I want to be playing at the moment. Ni no Kuni, which hit Xbox Game Pass unexpectedly. Yes. I played that for about 20 minutes as well. The art style is just magical, and
Studio Ghibli, man, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool, and it the classic JRPG, the overworld map and turn-based combat and stuff. which Final Fantasy sadly abandoned. You know.
Yes.
Agreed. So yeah, I wanna get into that as well. But then like we're so close to Overwatch 2, you know, and that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and also Persona's coming out pretty soon, and there's a bunch of games I want to play. Hard Space Shipbreaker I want to play. Like that looks like my jam, you know.
That is a jam, sir. That is a jam. It is my new jam.
I can't get off of NBA, bro. Like, I don't know. It's like I'm the same. I want to play all these damn games, and I see them on. I'm like, I want to play that. I want to play this, and it's like, I'm just gonna play NBA right now for 5 minutes first, and then it takes up 3 hours of my night.
And we're not even to 2023 when the stuff really starts hitting the fan, right?
No,
it's insane. So, well, Jez, it is, and we're just so glad to have you here, man. An honor to have you here, brother, for sure. And again, thank you for taking the time. I'm glad we can make this work. So, Mav, you've been playing NBA. How you been this week? We just got off of Modern Warfare 2 beta, early access. We got to play for about an hour or so before the show. What else has been going on, man? What you been thinking about?
Just work and gaming and streaming and podcasting. It's the same old stuff, like the same routine, man. But it's been awesome. I've had a lot of fun actually this year with 2K, so I can't really complain. Although I did get screwed last week, I'll say twice. I got screwed twice. I'm not gonna say what happened publicly. I'll keep that to myself.
Whatever, Mister. I'm not gonna support the Empire, and then you go buy two $50 boxes of basketball cards.
Hey, I thought my chances were going to be pretty good here, right? Early on, there's not too many cards out there. They're going to give me at least one of the good ones. No, they gave me 4 of the same card. 4 of the same card, right? That was ridiculous. However,
Jez, he's part of the problem.
I am, dude. I complain about it and then I support it. I know, but I've been having a lot of fun playing 2K, dude. I'm actually kind of addicted to it because when I'm done playing, I hook up my Kishi to my phone and I console stream and I play in bed. Like that's what I've been doing with NBA lately. Besides that,
you should see myself for laziness, man. I'll tell you about it in a minute when you're finished. But...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't want to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Like my setup for like X Cloud in bed is legendary right now. I got a Galaxy Fold, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, you don't need a fold. You could buy like a $200 tablet.
Right.
And I got this cheap mount off Amazon. It costs like $15 or something. And it sort of I clamp my phone over my face in bed, right? And then like, which is you know, so it's like here, and I can just lie down. And
nice.
It's like that's laziness in itself, right? But the controller I use is not the Kishi or the Xbox controller. It's the Razer Jungle Cat. Have you heard of this one?
I have not, and I like Razer products, so
yeah, it's an older one. I don't think they make it anymore, sadly.
Okay,
but you might be able to find it. But it's basically it was their first mobile controller they attempted, and it's basically like a Nintendo Switch, but without the screen. So it's just like 2 joysticks, basically 2 nunchucks, and you were supposed to like put your phone in a case and then attach the 2 nunchucks to it. What I do is I just use them at my side. So like it's the ultimate laziness because I can just lie on my back with my hands at my side. I don't even need to bring my hands up to play. I just lie like this. It's just ultimate laziness, you know. It's like next level. And I'm just like, yeah, this is the future of gaming. Forget that VR stuff. Forget ray tracing. Yeah. This is the future of game right now. Lying on my back. So just nothing else. Don't have to use any energy whatsoever. Only my thumbs.
Wow,
love it.
Is it like Bluetooth, the controller?
Yeah, it's Bluetooth. So
right.
You know, and honestly, the Bluetooth's not that great because it is an older controller, but it's fine for turn-based games and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which I tend to use xCloud for anyway, just because of in Germany I've got ADSL, which is like copper cables, and sometimes it's okay, but it's really susceptible to interference. So if it rains or something, or if it's too humid, it seems to affect the connection. More so than my fiber optic does in Britain, at my parents' house. So yeah,
it sounds like the Stone Age, Jez.
Yeah, it's all right. As long as there's no weather, it's all right.
Right. And weather never happens in Germany.
As long as there's no clouds, you know. That's cool, man. Like, I would
It's a
have to
great
look that. I
setup.
would have to look that up. Maybe I can find one on eBay
Super
potentially.
lazy if you
Yeah,
want mega laziness.
yeah, that sounds nice though. But other than that, it's Dealfield Chronicle coming out this week.
It already
Also,
dropped, I
it
think, didn't
Is
dropped,
it?
that this
man.
week?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh
it's this
man.
week. Yeah.
that's one I want to play too because that demo is amazing, dude. If you like
Yes.
turn-based games, if you like strategy-based games, then that's one that's definitely on my radar. Like I need to pick it up, but the beta just happened with COD, and now we've been playing NBA and playing all these other games too, like Deathloop. I've played through the same amount almost that I played through on PlayStation when it launched, but then I had a really annoying game freeze, and I ended up losing like over an hour of progress. So that kind of triggered me, and I just stopped playing then. But I'm excited to pick it back up because for Deathloop, the thing about it that's amazing is for our arcane game, a lot of the controls at times have felt clunky when it comes to shooter controls, but this one feels a lot more fast and fluid, right? They've kind of like stepped up their game there with the fast movement, twitch, kind of a little bit of a twitchy movement and stuff as well. But the guns still feel really powerful at the same time, So I really like what they did with Deathloop, and it gives me hope for Redfall also because each game I think they make is like taking a step up in quality, right? So if they can put the similar gameplay mechanics with the gunplay in Redfall that was in Deathloop, I think we're onto something really good with that game as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, other than that, man, it's been just working, like I said, and I know we're gonna have a lot to get into, dude, because
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
get into the future of gaming since we have Jez,
Yeah. We got
the
Jez,
prophet here.
the myth and the legend himself. So, yeah, man. My week has been pretty good. Played some Kuni, of course. When
Nice.
that shadow dropped, that was amazing. Been playing on that. And then obviously Deathloop. I have played a ton of Deathloop, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. This is the arcaniest of arcane games you can possibly get. Like the puzzles, like trying to
Yeah.
solve like these clues and that kind of stuff. Um, really, really just unique mechanics again from Arcane, as always. Again, that's why I love Arcane. And this game, it took a long time to get to Xbox. It was a long wait for me, but it was well worth it. And to have this game drop now and kind of a dry, I say dry period, but it's not really. Let's be real. But AAA wise, this was perfect. This is absolutely phenomenal game. And then obviously with the Modern Warfare 2 beta early access dropping today, we are hopping into that. And so far, what we played is really good. It does have some hiccups, got some stuff they got to clean up for sure. But so far, so good. It's Modern Warfare 2019, but a little bit better, to quote Jasper so far. So really enjoying it. We actually just got done with a third person view match, which was really cool
Yeah.
to get back into. A little weird with it going to first person when you aim down sights, but overall, great match. I wound up with my first 20 kill game, so I'll take it. But that's how my week's been going. Otherwise, I should say Hard Space Shipbreaker, because Jez brought it up. Been playing that nightly as well as my down game before bed, like my palate cleanser before bed.
Right.
That game is freaking amazing. Like it is so I know why so many people on PC were talking about it. I know why Jeff Grubb, shout out to Grub was high on it for the longest time as well. That game is special. It really is. It's like seems like it's going to be like a power wash simulator in a lot of ways, where it's just going to be like this total chill kind of experience where you're just cutting up these big ships. But as you level up, as you progress, they give you your like hazard certification. So all of a sudden the ships now have electricity that you have to deal with that can electrocute you. They have gas tanks in them that you have to remove carefully, otherwise they blow up. I suggest anybody who loves space games, anybody who wants a chill experience, go check this out. It is well worth your time just to see. Again, it's in Game Pass, no risk. So go check it out. But I'm having a great time with that game. So that's been my week. But other than that, let's get down to business here. Hey, chat. You guys are looking absolutely incredible. As always, shout out some of you in the chat here. Ralph Wiggum, great to see you. Nick's brother, you know what it is. Thanks for joining us a special time. Toolman55. Tony Grasso is in the house. Talos Ray, Blue Moon FC. What's going on? Brother from another fuzzy Belvedere is showing up here early. Spider-Man 356, great to see you. Jesse B, always awesome to have you in chat. Caitlin, the beautiful Miss Caitlin, who does all of our amazing thumbnails and all the different graphics. Thank you so much for being here. General Spartan 27, brother, great to see you as well. Did I get our Talos Ray? Yeah, I got Talos Ray. Talos Ray deserves 2 shout outs. Brother, PTK Blam is in the house. Blam, thanks for joining us. Andrew Cullinane, Lore Master Jasper, the actually one, is here as well. Def Leopard, great to see you. Stone King X, what is going on? Doom Reaper is in the house as well. Who else? We got Razor NZ all the way from New Zealand. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Normally, you join us very in the afternoon, I think, in New Zealand. So it must be a little bit earlier for you today. We got Relski here. We got Bear 1971. We got Shane. Brother, what's going on? Brother from another 3-bit is here as well. Save the Game Media. Outbreak Podcast. Dave, what is going on, sir? Great to see you in here as well. Death Lord Strong. Always awesome to see you in here. Look at we even got Idle Sloth in here. You know it's a special day when Idle Sloth is showing up, getting ready to sloth us.
Yeah,
here,
he just tweeted.
So, we got the one and only Jez on. Omi Tony, great to see you. Alvin, awesome to have you in here. Why so serious? What's going on as well? Hey, if I missed anybody else, please let me know. Oh, brother from another Steel Rain showed up here as well. Of course, he's jumping in here while he's playing some Modern Warfare 2. RSJ Fran, glad to see you could make it. You didn't know if you were going to make it live or if you were going to have to watch this later, but great to see you. Oh, of course, Kay Asante joining in. And we've got Pico Trek in here as well. Great to see you all.
Hey, Pong, before we get into this, a real quick shout out to Andrew Cullinane as well, that just had a baby girl 2 hours ago.
Oh, really?
2 hours ago.
Andrew Cullinane, congratulations. Yeah. Holy
cow. 2 hours ago, he just had a baby, and he's sitting here listening to us right now. That's that's awesome.
Man, congratulations. Hope the family is all well, and amazing that you're listening in. Man, that's some dedication right there, my friend. Dr. Dinglenut, what's going on? I see you jumping in here. UK Dazarus. What? What's going on, Daz? Jigga J, what's going on, brother? I see you. All right, so let's get down to it, Jez. Just this has been an interesting week, and I wanted to start here. Normally we like to get some of the not so fun stuff out of the way, but I thought having you here this week was extra special because you bring a different perspective. As somebody who works at Window Central, somebody who is in the journalism field, you have access to information. We know that you've broken code names before live on air. You know, you've been able to have things come across your desk that, you know, not the average Joe gets every day, but we had a bunch of leaky problem this week, Jez. And obviously it started last weekend on Sunday night for us with, of course, Rockstar and GTA 6. And then, of course, at the same time, later this week, I should say, we come out to find out that Dan Allen Gaming was breaking NDAs as a YouTuber. And he was the insider, and he was releasing information and, in fact, has admitted to making up fake information just for clout on the internet. So we got 2 different types of scenarios here. One, we've got stolen IP. We got stolen property. Let's call it what it is. A hacker went into Rockstar and grabbed, IP, grabbed code, grabbed video, and released it and was asking for a ransom. So it is what it is. It's theft. And then we got another guy who's breaking NDAs, but both of them come back to the point that there is this thing in this industry. This industry is super secretive. I talk about this all the time. This is the most secretive industry I've ever seen in my entire life. Movies, sports, nothing comes close to this.
Especially the entertainment industry, right?
Entertainment industry for sure, 100%. And so we get this kind of desire from a lot of us, myself included. I like to know everything. I'm not the guy who wants to be surprised. I like to know things. I can still be surprised when I see something for the first time, even if I know it. I'm the guy who reads the last page in a new book, okay? So for me, I like insider stuff. I like leaks. I like all that kind of stuff. But I know there's a whole nother side of this that we get into, the dark side of things, that we get into the hackers, that we get into stealing property from developers. Right. And we have people like Dan Allen Gaming breaking NDA, breaking the trust of not only himself, but causing problems for other YouTubers. So from your point of view, Jez, you've been doing this for a long time now. You do get information. I've heard you talk about it all the time. Shout out to Xbox 2, you and Rand. Again, one of my favorite podcasts out there. You've influenced a lot for myself and a lot of people that do this. But I've heard you talk about it all the time, that you have certain guidelines for yourself that you won't break. So, Jez, when you see this stuff, you can talk about both. You can talk about one, whatever the case may be, whatever you're comfortable with. What do you think about what happened this week, and how damaging is it to the industry and to people who try to do their job like you?
Man, it's been an interesting week because I've seen like all sorts of takes. I've seen like there's been a lot of criticism from some sites about leakers in general. I saw GameIndustry.biz basically wrote an article that was basically calling out Jeff Grubb, I thought, without saying his name, which I thought was a bit cowardly. You know, if you're gonna call a guy out, say his name. You know, don't be a little bitch about it. But but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But this is the whole thing, right? You see, I saw some tech sites and some games journalist websites, right? They call out leakers and say leaker culture is bad, but there are also sites that don't do any leaking. There are also sites that can't do any leaking, because they don't have the connections, or they don't have the staff that have the ability to do that. You know, so they call them out because it hurts them ultimately. If they have to drop a backlink on a competing website, it hurts them. You know, it erodes their relevance. And if Google's always pointing to Windows Central instead of some other website, Google's like, well, this is the website that breaks all the news, so they've got the higher authority on this topic, right? Mm-hmm. So some sites that don't get leaks, they don't like it because they've got to cover the news because everyone wants to know about it, but they also decry leaks because they don't get any benefit from it directly until they do get a writer that can do leaks, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but it's journalism. Leaks are journalism. What are you talking about? It's all journalism. It's all okay, you know. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy going around, I think, from some corners of the industry. You know, that being said, I actually don't like leaking myself. You know, I don't like to do it because, because just personally speaking, I am the guy who likes to be surprised. You know, I don't go to the last page in the book. Whenever a new show comes out that I want to watch, I mute every single hashtag and every single keyword to do with it, so I can make sure that I can watch it without spoilers. You know, so there are certain things that I won't sort of leak, like you know, for example, pre-release gameplay footage. We saw a load of discourse this week about Grand Theft Auto looking bad. You know, and then we saw like a whole bunch of game developers showcasing games before they're finished, right? I've got a bunch of pre-release game footage of a bunch of Xbox games, a bunch of Activision games, and a couple of EA games, you know, which, you know, they've just happened to arrive at me through various sources and various means, right? I've never published any of it because I don't want to be responsible for that discourse where everyone's like, oh my God, this game looks bad. And it's like, yeah, but half the effects aren't implemented yet. But part of that's on the fault of game developers in a way, or maybe more bigger game publishers who aren't willing to sort of take us through the creative process. They are getting a bit better at it. Like I know, like Dead Space, for example.
Dead Space as well.
Sharing a lot of Dead Space shared a lot of their in development process. Dragon Age, they've been teasing Dragon Age 4 by showing off in development footage of it, which I thought was really cool and really refreshing. And more companies should do that, you know, and hopefully more companies will do it after this week, you know, because I think like when consumers start to see what a game looks like in development, they'll sort of like, these kind of leaks won't be as damaging if people sort of like, oh, well, I can sort of imagine what that'll look like when it's finished because it'll have all the lighting implemented, the better textures, or, you know, whatever, all the other effects. And these kind of leaks won't be as damaging. But because like marketing departments of big publishers, they want to have very tight control over how their product's presented. Unnecessarily so, I think, frankly. because of that, we don't see games in development. We don't see games in their rough and unpolished state very often. Although that does seem to start to be changing now. But that's why I don't leak pre-release gameplay footage, because I don't want to present the games in a way that will give trolls ammunition, frankly. So, which is why, like, I try to present it in the best possible light without, sort of degrading the discourse around the game. And and like I said earlier, I don't like doing leaks because I know it pisses off game developers. And I like game developers and I want them to like me because I like their games a lot, But at the same time, it's also my job.
Yeah.
And it's also how I avoid going back to a minimum wage life, which I was through most of my 20s, because I'm a high school dropout, right? So I have this constant fear. I have nightmares about this shit. I have this constant fear of going back to scraping a living, and living paycheck to paycheck and having an empty bank account. I have this fear of that, So I always say, like, to these people who criticize leakers and people who are hunting for these exclusives, pay my bills then, because this is how I make a living,
Right.
at the end of the day. And it's not like I'm doing anything illegal to acquire this information. It's not like I've never broken an NDA in my life. I think maybe I broke one by accident by clicking the wrong button on the CMS one time and then pulled the article. I think that's happened a couple of times and no one's noticed, thank God. But I've never intentionally broken NDA, and I never will, because you get your ass sued, which is what Ubisoft literally hinted they were going to do in a statement to Kotaku with regards to that Dan Allen dude.
Yeah.
So you get your ass sued. These are NDAs are legally binding contracts, And also, a lot of journalists get pissed off about NDAs being violated because it's sort of like it's meant to give everyone a level playing field.
Sure.
So it's like everyone has access to this information at the same time. YouTubers, Twitch streamers, whatever. And then everyone can sort of join in the announcement together, and it's supposed to make it more fair. I get pissed off when, like, I've been given an embargo for a certain date, and then it's like IGN or someone has a better embargo for like the day they get like a 24-hour exclusive on something. That happens a lot. With IGN. Like, IGN has a whole IGN first thing, right? So that's annoying, and I get why they do that. It's because IGN's the big Mac Daddy, they are the biggest site, and they have the clout to pull those kind of exclusives, and fair play to them, they've built the site up very well. But for me as a smaller site, how do I compete with IGN?
Correct.
Who get access? How do I compete with IGN who get access to those 24-hour exclusives, IGN first or whatever? How do I compete with GameIndustry.biz who get access to CEOs and get access to Phil Spencer for interviews and exclusive information and stuff like that? Now, it's got better for me over time. Like, I've gotten quite a lot of exclusives recently, in recent years, but if I would never have gotten them without putting myself on the map by doing this leaking stuff. Like, how else would I have ever accomplished this if it wasn't for the obsession of finding Xbox information? And frankly, a lot of it doesn't even come from sources. A lot of it just comes from like weird places, like patent filing websites. Like, every day before I go to bed, I go on the United States patent website, filtered by Microsoft, and I read their patents to see if there's any kind of interesting information that can point me in the direction of finding exclusive. And I've gotten so many exclusives just by looking at information that is literally public.
Yeah.
Like Project Tatanka, for example, the Halo Battle Royale.
Yeah.
That was basically public information.
Right.
Microsoft leaked that themselves through the Halo API. And but you'd only find that if you were so inclined to do that, So and also Project Dragon from IO Interactive. IO Interactive leaked that themselves through their job listings, So it's kind of like
you got to do the search. You got to do the searching and hunting, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jez, it sounds like you're doing like real journalism, actually, right? That's like your job, like you said. It's real journalism. You're digging in and trying to find this stuff, and that's what I'm always curious about, Jez, because like you said, you're competing against these bigger sites that get access because of who they are. But if you're doing real journalism, if you're not hacking and stealing the information, or if you're not taking it from a known source who has stolen it, that's kind of open, right? That's like up to you as the journalist if you want to share it or not. And honestly, to me, nobody should have a problem with it if you're not getting it through nefarious means. Again, that's part of journalism, is to report on interesting things. And obviously, in an industry full of secrets, those secrets are something that's valuable, right? That's worthwhile to people, that people as gamers want. Not every gamer wants to know. A lot of gamers hate them. But overall, like you said, to drive your numbers, to ensure your employment, like, I can't imagine myself trying to balance that. I can't. I would want to give them all out, right?
Yeah.
That's just how I would be. So for you though, how do you weigh, let's say, the code names that you've been known to give out? How do you weigh when to say something about them?
Well, I'll be completely honest. Like, I felt like this year, especially the first half of the year, I felt like I was almost in an arms race with Jeff Grubb. Because every week Jeff Grubb's coming out with a new bloody code name. I was like, oh God, now I've got to leak a code name, you know. And Jeff probably felt the same way, maybe to some degree. I don't know. Jeff has way more information than me, frankly speaking. But I kind of felt like I was in this arms race with Jeff and Tom Anderson and a bunch of other people for attention. And there's, I suppose, there's a competitive element to it as well, you know, and stuff like that. But it's always for me, and for me, I'm not an idealist. I'm like a journalism's got to be this pure thing, and you know, all information should be public. I ain't like that. Some journalists are like that, like all information should be public, and they have this sort of idealistic view of it. That's fine if that's your bag, but it's not my bag. My bag is entirely driven by the fear of being unemployed. That is my entire selfish drive for what I do, you know. And the love that the Xbox community gives me, you know, makes me mentally happy, you know, mentally stable.
Yeah, sure, of course.
I think you do it in a respectful way, right, Jez? Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff you are maybe intentionally vague on some things at times, when you maybe could be more specific, or you could be more blatant about what it is, and it's more about, hey, look, Xbox is investing in all these things. Like, this is positive stuff. It's not. I'm sure if there was something negative, that you would do the same thing. But right now, with as much as they've been doing, you know what I mean? There's a lot of positivity to put out there, and a lot of good things to put out there, right? And I think for a lot of us, it's like cool when we hear about a new project potentially in development, right? And I know you always usually make clear, hey, this is early, things could change, right? And that's where a lot of the stuff comes from. And it's good for me, like, when I see one of those things, like one of these project names, or like, ooh, Xbox is potentially working with this developer. It never comes through as like, hey, this is 100% going to happen, and this is going to happen in 2026, and be ready for it, everybody. And this game is exactly about this. Here's the story. Here's the plot. Here's the main characters. Here's what the game looks like. It's not in all of that. What you do is kind of like, hey, rumblings are, you know what I mean, that this project is blah blah blah. This is, you know, and it just gives a little bit of excitement behind everything, you know, and I think that's kind of why that love comes back to you.
Well, I care about the Xbox community. You know, I got so many friends here, like you guys. You know, you guys always supporting us in the show, and I've known you guys on Twitter for God knows how long, and just all the friends I made here, because you know, I'm just an internet guy. You know, I just this is where I live. This is my community, and I kind of see the Xbox community as my people. You know, you're like, I'm friends with so many people here, and I feel like I'm part of the community. I want to be part of the community. And I want to advocate for the community. I want to influence Microsoft to do positive things for the community, you know, which is why I bitch so much about game DVR, and, you know, trying to push through investment in the notification system. I'm gonna put out an article next week, which criticizes Microsoft for the lack of development, you know, in some of these features that people are asking for, you know, and that's how I see my role, like, as advocating for the consumer, the Xbox consumer at the end of the day. And it's just as a result of that, sometimes I come across this information, and like, I don't want to, because I care about the Xbox community, I don't want to spoil a show for clicks, you
Yeah.
know. Like, what's the point, you know? Just to get like just to get some extra clicks, but in the trade-off is I have to ruin the surprises of a show, which is like, you know, for gamers it's like Christmas, you know, ruin all those surprises for people. I think that's kind of mean, but I don't think there's anything particularly ruinous about leaking a code name, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like I leaked Project Badger for Minecraft. Minecraft Legends was codename Badger.
Yep.
And I tweeted out Badger pictures and stuff. And you know, it's kind of fun to tease, right? It gets people excited.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to leak the full game or what it was. Partially because I didn't get it. I was like, what the hell is this? Minecraft action strategy game? I couldn't understand like based on the information that I had,
Right.
I couldn't understand it. So I didn't want to present it without having the full information either, because I didn't want to misrepresent the product and what it was going to be, because I didn't get it, you know. So that was part of it too. So I also like having 100% track record, you know. Right. I don't report anything unless I am 100% sure, which is why everything I've reported is basically a fact. And I like having that track record too, because for me it isn't about clicks, you know. I don't report on every rumor that comes my way unless I know for a fact that it's true. And I also like to debunk rumors that I believe not to be true, because I don't want the community to be all hyped up about a Gears of War collection, which I don't think exists, you know.
Right.
So it's sort of that kind of aspect of it as well. But it's like you say, it's a weird line to follow, because there are journalists who say like, well, you shouldn't be trying to make the community hyped up or whatever, or bring excitement. Your job as a journalist is to just put all the information out there. But that's why I always say I'm a blogger, you know. I don't like to say I'm a journalist, because I ain't a trained journalist. I never went to journalism school. I ain't got a press pass. I ain't with a journalism union. I was a blogger, you know. I blogged. I made a blog, you know. I don't know what the difference is, you know. I have journalistic integrity. I like to follow journalistic ethics. I like to do due diligence and stuff like that. But I'm not in that sort of community of people who consider themselves journalists, you know. People who like see it as like this noble profession and stuff like that. I don't see it that way. I see myself as a blogger, a content creator, and an entertainer. It's just like, instead of making YouTube videos, I write, you know.
Yeah.
And I want to entertain people.
You write a lot also, man. Like, I mean, you've been, especially like you said, you've been busy, you know. Like I've been seeing like an article a day almost, it seems like, from something new, especially with the Logitech G Cloud and all of this stuff coming up. I mean, it's a lot of work, and you put in that work. So
I think journalism as a whole has changed, right, Jez? We're not back in the old journalism days where it was kind of a higher level profession, right? Journalism has now devolved in a lot of ways, to me, into opinion pieces, into editorials. Everything is draped in emotion. There is very little, not all of it, but there is very little neutral journalism anymore. Right? There is very little unbiased journalism anymore. Most of it is just, we write what we want to write. Like you said, it reads more like a blog a lot of times than it does an actual article, right? So I think, you know, I appreciate what you're saying as far as you don't consider yourself in journalism. I just think you're a part of the greater journalism no matter what at the end of the day, because of what you do. Just because you are providing news, you are providing information factually. Like you said, you're not one of those people out there just throwing everything against the wall and hoping something sticks. You are trying to have some level of credibility to what you do. So I think that definitely puts you in that class. But I appreciate where you're coming from when you say that you don't want to be considered that. So you know, as far as you and in the community, Jez, you do great work. And I think that that's why people have such respect for you too as well. Like you said, you will write the articles asking people what they want from Xbox and Microsoft and saying, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with this HDR? What's happening here? And I think that part of it does kind of bring you into the fold of all of this. And, it is appreciated that we have somebody out in the community who is expressing our concerns that might get more attention than just us on Twitter, right? Or us on a podcast.
I bitch a lot on a podcast, and Xbox doesn't hear it.
True.
It doesn't have the same effect, So
Xbox listens to all the smaller podcasts too.
Yeah.
Like when I started out, my site Xbox Mad, which is a blog I made just to learn the modern CSS conventions. I was like an IT guy, and I was like I was an IT guy for a small group of companies, and one of the companies was a restaurant. The restaurant wanted a website, and I was like, I can make websites, but I had made websites since the late 90s. So I was like, okay, I'm going to brush up on my knowledge of HTML and CSS. So to do that, I made an Xbox blog. And then now I'm here, I'm only here because Microsoft does pay attention to what smaller people are saying. Like Aaron Greenberg made the effort to meet me at Gamescom when I had like 1,000 followers, back in the day. And like when I was at Gamescom this year, I met him again, and it's just crazy, like how nothing's really changed, because to them, we are all just part of the community. It doesn't matter how many followers you've got. They will try to, hear you out and stuff. And Aaron, when I was there, was having one-on-one meetings with all sorts of independent bloggers, small YouTubers, small podcasters. When I was leaving the Köln Messe, and I kept running into Aaron Greenberg when I was there. And I saw Aaron Greenberg. I was just walking in some back street, and Aaron Greenberg was there. And he said he was on his way to have some beers with some fans. That invited him to have some beers. And he'd left the Köln Messe, all the business dealings he could have done, or whatever he could have done. He could have stayed in there with a nice air conditioning and could have, and all that stuff. But after Gamescom ended that day, instead of like going back to his hotel room, he put the effort in to go and meet some fans for a drink, for a bit. And I just thought that's the kind of like the grassroots attitude that Xbox has that makes this company so exciting to cover.
Right.
Like some of the other companies like Nintendo or even Sony, like I can't imagine ever just meeting Jim Ryan for a beer.
Right.
It's just never gonna happen. Like, I've never in my entire career spoken to anyone at Nintendo ever,
Right.
because they are such an opaque company and very corporate, and I suppose they have to be, because they want to maintain their sort of child-friendly image or whatever. I mean, it is what it is, but that's why Xbox is so fun to cover, is because they do pay attention to everyone at every level in the community. But like, I amplify, because I am grateful, because I do have it back in my mind, minimum wage job, and I'm grateful for all of this.
Yeah.
One of the ways I can give back is to amplify, and amplify those people up to, and amplify concerns up to the higher level. And a lot of the stuff that people do share with me on Twitter and DM and stuff gets action. Like, for example, I got a DM this week about Bleeding Edge servers being down. A Bleeding Edge is still being played by a fairly decent amount of people. There's like a small community around Bleeding Edge that still exists. People who are really passionate about it, play it every day. Like, and it's become like this really tightly knit, amazing little community Bleeding Edge has, even though the game is not being developed anymore. Right. And like, they're not really paying attention to it anymore. And the servers went down, or matchmaking stopped working, or something like that. And like a couple of people from Bleeding Edge community reached out to me, and they were like, Bleeding Edge is having issues. Can you pass it up the chain? And maybe they were already looking at it, I don't know. But I did. I passed it up the chain, and then someone said, I'll email over to the team and make sure that we're on it. I'm like, maybe they're already on it. I don't know. But it's that kind of thing. And then yesterday they tweeted that we're on it. We're looking into it, and it's the first tweet Bleeding Edge has made in like a year or something like that.
Wow.
So I don't know if my DM had any impact there. They might have been looking into it already. I'm not going to claim that it was because of me, but it's that kind of role that I see myself within the community beyond the journalism,
Right.
And and which is it's like you say, the lines are blurred now in modern journalism to some degree.
Yeah.
And part of that's the fault of TV, you know. And it was in the 80s when they started blending entertainment and the media, you know, where like you get like the straight laced news anchor, and then you have like one of these talking heads like Tucker, what's his name, Tucker Carlson or whatever on Fox News, who just spouts a stream of bullshit that sounds fun to listen to if you're not thinking very straight. But that he's a YouTuber with a bigger platform, basically sensationalizing reality, and some people prefer to consume their information like that because I don't know, it's more entertaining than listen to a guy drone on about the minutiae and the decimalized facts of reality, the maths, the mechanics of it.
Right.
It's boring and confusing. When you get like a big walking clickbait machine, like, you know, some of these American news anchors, that's what influenced how algorithms work ultimately.
Of course.
And
yes, clickbait and everything else. Yes.
Yeah, and Google controls the internet.
Yeah.
And their algorithms determine what gets clicked on, but at the same time, it's what we click on that determines what gets clicked on. Because if you click on sensationalized stuff, Google will think, well, people want sensationalized stuff. Well, let's give them more sensationalized stuff. So it goes into a deeper debate about, you know, giving people what they want versus telling the truth ultimately sometimes, you know. So but I grew up on the BBC, which is sort of like taxpayer funded news network that try to editorialize as little as possible, or at least they used to. They have like a little section now, which is like the straight stories at the top, and then there's like a section at the bottom where it's like the editorial bit with a person's face on, where they give their opinion, and I think that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you don't inject some kind of opinion these days or editorialize things, oftentimes people just tune out, or they won't read it, or they won't come back. You know, you have to kind of leave them feeling good, and it works the same way with YouTube videos as well. It's a philosophical debate that I could go into for like an hour or so.
Yeah,
this is meant to be a gaming show, right?
Yeah, but it's a part of the leaks, right? It is a part of the whole discussion behind it, right? So I think it's important to have those discussions as well. Mav, to you this week when you saw this, does it still surprise you? It shocks me, especially in this community with people who you always want to believe that people who are actually here in the community, right? We are the most passionate. We are the ones that pay attention to everything. We are on the news every day. But when these leaks happen, specifically the GTA leaks, right? The people that still don't understand gaming development, that still sit there and go, "Oh, this game's trash. This game's trash. This game's terrible. What are you guys doing?" How do people not understand what's going on? Were you shocked by any of that, the discourse?
I saw some surprising takes. I don't know if they were trolling or what, but like from people that we actually know in the community, you know what I mean? That I would think would know more than that to have an opinion on a game that's so far away, right? And I mean, when you see something like that, when I see it, I'm like, okay, what can you take away from this that is maybe going to be relevant to what the game is actually going to be? Not necessarily, oh, this is what it looks like. Oh my God, it's going to be ass. You know, it's like a couple, like we don't even know. You know, the interesting thing, like what Jez was talking about earlier, is like it's changing a little bit with how some of these publishers are doing it. You don't hear any complaints really about how Skate looks when they keep doing these in development things or Dead Space. They're like, oh, thank you for showing us so early. We really love this. But the second something gets leaked out to the public, it's a surprise. It's like, oh, I knew it. The GTA is screwed now forever, right? And it's this like overreactionary like society we live in, first off, but also gamers are really passionate. And when they see something, it's like they don't even take a second, you know, to process. And I've been guilty of this before too. When like you get really amped up and your excitement gets going and you think you saw something like, oh my God, oh, I got to run with this, right? And there's like, oh shit, I need to calm down. I ran like I got too excited here and I started retweeting people's like bullshit fake stuff, right? I need to calm down. It's not real, you know. But in this situation, because of some of the people that I know that were making some of these tweets. That's what was the surprising thing, because it was like, maybe these people don't really understand as much about the gaming industry as we think they do, and they're just more like talking about it. You know what I mean? And like to have conversations without actually understanding that these things are like have stages. You know what I mean? It's not like you make a game and it looks beautiful and you just keep adding on to it from beginning to end, right? It's like you're building it from the ground up, and it's like there's all these different aspects to game development. And we have interesting conversations with 3-bit and stuff like that about just game development in general, right? And stuff. And there's so many different moving parts and pieces and different people that have different jobs that are responsible for different things, and it kind of just all comes together, right? So what to take away from those leaks is like, hey, okay, a lot of the rumors were true, right? About, you got the whole Bonnie and Clyde thing, stuff like that, right? So I'm like, oh, hey, they were right about that. Cool. Right about the setting, that's cool too. Checkbox, but you have no idea what it's going to look like. I don't think there's going to be like freaking mall dolls, walking around in the game. You know what I mean? There's like,
are you sure?
The people that have like, the you know what I'm talking about. The dolls that they dress up in the mall. You know what I mean? For like the
mannequins.
The mannequins. Yeah. It's not like everybody's going to look like mannequins walking around in GTA. You know what I mean? That's not what it's going to look like when the game comes out. So it was just surprising to see. Like, I even saw people comment on the gameplay. I was like, how do you know how this game is going to play? Like, you have no idea whatsoever how this game is going to play. Like, have you touched the controller? Because even a game that looks polished as fuck and looks amazing, that is coming out next week, I can't tell you how that game's going to feel when I play it until I actually put my hands on it, right?
Right.
I've seen tons of footage of Modern Warfare 2 beta, right? I've been watching it, right? But oh my God, when I picked up that controller and I felt this beta and how different it felt, I was like, whoa, this is a change. That was, I'm welcoming it, but you can't really get that from footage, right? I don't, ultimately the footage aspect of that leak is going to be like something that's not going to matter. When they show their stuff close to release, people's minds are probably going to be blown because it's Rockstar, right? So that aspect of damaging it right now, I don't think is going to have big implications down the road. The thing I was more worried about was the source code stuff, right? With the ransomware on that and how they're holding it hostage, and if that did get to other parties and all that kind of stuff, what would happen then? You know what I mean? Like, would that potentially have them to cause another extra year or two of development to have to fix all this code and change it because the source code got out? And one game dev had an interesting post where he went on all these reasons why source code at this stage of development getting out could be bad, and it could be due to like safety of players, right? And things that we don't really think about because we don't understand how games are made, right? But like if they can back into all the stuff they know, the code in the game, then people and hackers and all these different people can find ways of infiltrating and taking advantage of that, and that would be really bad. So I'm hoping it gets caught. I have confidence in that because of some of the stuff that's come out. They put out that message, hey, look, everything's going to be fine. I think they may think they know who it is and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah,
so
they got the FBI on it now,
FBI. So. They're working with Uber as well. And so I think a lot of that is hopefully being handled. And I think they make a huge ass example out of this person. A huge example. Don't give him a job. This one, don't go give him a job. In cybersecurity. You want to lock that motherfucker up for a long time because you don't fuck with our video games. Okay? Don't fuck with our games. Lock them away for like life or whatever for hacking. I don't care. Make an example out of one of them. That way, hopefully, this doesn't come back to bite you in the end. Now, you put him in jail for 20 years, right? Now, let's say you need him later. You pull him out for like a weekend. Yeah, you get some free time, like do some extra work, and then you put him back in jail, right? You make him like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, no.
Suicide Squad hack. No,
let's not even do that. No, and I agree with you. I think the Dan Allen Gaming too. I think Ubisoft, like Jez was saying, has to go after him and make an example. That's the only way you're going to impress upon people you can't do this. This is not okay. This is not right. So I am in agreement with you wholeheartedly on that too, man.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't imagine risking everything. Like, we don't have the biggest channel, right? Like,
no,
but we got 100 people watching us right now, and we've worked for that, right? Like, we spent 2 years working on this channel, trying to build a community, being passionate about talking about games and our love for gaming, streaming, co-streams of all these shows, and all of this passion because we love the industry, we love gaming, we love playing games, we love talking about games. I couldn't imagine putting all of that on the line and risking that just for some clout on an alternate account.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, it just like doesn't make any damn sense, you know. And this person,
200,000 subs.
Yeah, this person's way larger than what we are. You know, I couldn't imagine, right? And it also is like a slap in the face, like, for creators that want that opportunity, right? That want to be able to have that access and be able to cover these things in the proper way. And you get that. You got the privilege, right? Because you've grown the community and you've grown your channel, and you finally get the privilege. You finally get the opportunity to take that chance, right? And then you go and you abuse it and use it for your own personal gain, for self-interest and egotistical reasons, right? And that's a slap in the face and makes it harder for anybody else like us to potentially be able to get that access in the future. So when he apologized after the fact, I didn't know who he was beforehand. I don't really give a shit. But when he apologized after the fact, that's just like, it's just, you know, he's apologizing for getting caught, not for the fact that he did it. Now, I understand, hey, people make mistakes. But he was knowing willingly he was making a mistake for a long time. Right. And it was an intentional thing. It's not like, oops, I accidentally made a fake account. I made another account. Right.
For his ego. He admitted it.
It's just weird. It's just, there's even stuff come out where people have exposed him for DMing them, asking for like codes on share codes and stuff on games under NDA and all these kind of things as well. Like, I'm sure that happens in the industry as well and stuff. But some of the people that shared it were surprised that they had received such a DM. You know what I mean? And it just kind of leads to a lack of character. And screw you. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. Again, I think that we hit it and Jez knocked it out of the park. Given the background behind the scenes kind of look at what he deals with and how he deals with it. And I think it was a great overview. And again, that's why it was such a great topic to have this week when Jez coming on. So appreciate that, Jez, for sure. We got a couple super chats. Drawn TJ with the $5. Thank you very much, brother. Hi, Pong, Mav, and Jez. Hope your day is going good. By the way, the COD beta, Call of Duty beta, is out for Xbox, and it looks amazing. Yes, sir. Mav and I were playing it right prior to the show, and it's playing pretty well. There is some stuff they got to fix.
It seems like there's a big issue in Series S right now, where it's crashing for Series S users. If you have Series S, hopefully they get that fixed.
Yeah, Jasper was streaming, and he kept having people bring that up in the chat.
Yeah, there was like 10 people hopped in his chat. Hey, how are you getting it to run? I can't get it to run. And Jasper's like, do you have a Series S? Like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, crazy. And then we got another $2 super chat from John TJ as well. Again, thank you, sir. You are awesome, Jez. That's all he had to say for that $2. So awesome stuff. Jez, I want to get into this because we got the announcement this week of the Logitech G Cloud, right? And Logitech G Cloud, for anybody who has not been paying attention, this is coming from windowcentral.com. The Logitech G Cloud is a handheld gaming device that orients around cloud streaming and hardware optimizations, specifically designed to improve video streams from services like xCloud Gaming with Xbox Game Pass, NVIDIA GeForce Now, and Steam Link. It does not support LTE for 4G or 5G support and is designed primarily for Wi-Fi in-home couch gaming via the cloud. But Jez, what I wanted to do here is, this thing is priced at $349, and if you pre-order it, it's $299 right now on Amazon, right? But what I want to talk about was your tweet that you put out after the fact, and you said here the price here is ultimately why only Xbox could realistically take a device like this mainstream. Microsoft could hit a lower price point by removing Google services and subsidizing through direct software and subscription sales. Jez. Listen, buddy, you've talked about this before on Xbox, the Xbox 2. You have, talked about the fact that they might at some point do this down the road. And, we're going to talk about kind of the state of Xbox now and into the future as well here. So let's lead in with this. When you see something like the Logitech G Cloud comes out, and I think everybody's point that I've seen so far is like, cool device, but cloud only, or streaming only, $349 when you got the Steam Deck out there now is not the price point. I said $199 and this thing might have a chance, right? So when you made that statement about Xbox, what do you think the chances are within this gen that they start prototyping and doing this and coming with their own handheld?
Well, I know they're already prototyping handhelds.
Okay.
They've gone through a bunch of different concepts, maybe prototypes even generous, maybe more concepts. They've concepted out handhelds. I don't think there's a working Xbox handheld anywhere at Microsoft. I could be wrong, but I know they've definitely been exploring it as a concept at the conceptual level, at least, maybe gone into prototype. But they've let Logitech go to market first, and I believe Razer's making one as well, which probably be announced God knows when. But it's tough because there are a lot of overheads when you're making an Android tablet. That's what this is, an Android tablet. I think a lot of people saw this straight away and thought, oh, that's a Steam Deck without native gameplay. But really, it's an Android tablet. There's a lot of overheads and licensing that is poured into that device. And also, because it is an Android tablet made by an OEM, they're not making any money on software at all.
Yeah.
Which means they can't lower the price anymore and still turn a profit. It's pure hardware. It's a pure hardware product with no service attached to it for Logitech. So they have to pay Google a fee to use Google services, I believe. And then Google take all the money from the store that'll be attached to it. So like if you play Candy Crush on it or something to buy a microtransaction, Logitech don't see any of that money, goes to Google. If you subscribe to Xbox Game Pass through it, Logitech don't see that money, goes to Microsoft. So they have to price it this way to make a profit. Now, a lot of people I had like weirdly journalists and analysts jumping in my mentions yesterday saying like, oh, why are you defending them? I'm like, I'm not defending them. I'm just telling you the reality of the product. It is the cold, hard reality that you don't make a product and then sell it at cost unless you've got a software attachment to make a business on it. Nobody makes a product for charity, Now you can argue that a device like this shouldn't exist, and it's too expensive and you don't want it. That's fine. But I would make that argument about VR. I don't want VR headset. I don't want to put a thing on my face. I don't want to pay $400 or whatever they are now to put a thing on my face, strap a heavy Zuckerberg thing on my face. No, hell no. I don't think that device.
But you love Meta. Come on, Jez.
Yeah. Well, but that's the point though.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Right.
But a lot of people do like it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people do want it. And a lot of people, I got a lot of passionate DMs about it. Shout out to people who are really passionate about VR, in my DMs. You know who you are if you're watching. But it's not for me, But this cloud device, this Android-based cloud device, might be for me. And I famously, I say notoriously, tweeted that I cancelled my Steam Deck pre-order. It came, I pre-ordered Steam Deck, put the deposit in, and then it came through. And I was like, when I was come to buy it, I was like, do I actually want this? Do I actually need this? Will I actually use this? And I was thinking I probably won't, I probably won't use this because it is big and chunky and heavy. And the battery life isn't that great when you're playing games natively. So I just for 400 euros or wherever it was, I was just like, I kind of don't want this. So I decided to skip it, That being said, I'm interested in this device more so than the Steam Deck, weirdly enough, because I know the Steam Deck has a lot of it runs on Linux, and you can put Windows on it, and it has a lot of, because it has Windows, you can do a lot of, you can do a lot of versatile stuff with it. You can install Windows apps and so on and so forth. But as a tablet experience, I kind of don't want full-blown Windows because it's not designed for a 7-inch display. It's not. Whereas Android is designed for a 7-inch display, and the Android apps are designed for 7-inch displays. So, like, instead of trying to suffer through a Windows experience on a tablet, which is where I'm viewing it from, I get Android, which will have apps that are scaled properly for that size of display. I'll get Netflix on the tablet that runs like Netflix on iPad or something like that, So I'm thinking, like, when would I use this device, really? When would I use a Steam Deck? And when would I use this Logitech cloud streaming thing? I'd probably only use it when I was traveling. When I'm traveling, I like to travel light. Now, this Logitech thing is only 400 grams, which is incredibly light. And it's also got 13 hours of screen time while streaming, which is pretty damn good. It's also got apx audio codecs for Bluetooth, which is good if I'm using it on a train. And I'm thinking, like, instead of taking a heavy power bank for my phone, I can keep my phone in my pocket and use this as a tablet on the train, watch Netflix stuff offline, listen to Spotify stuff offline. And if my connection's good enough, then I can drop some Game Pass in the hotel room, stuff like that. So I'm thinking, like, traveling is the only time I would use these kind of devices. So for me, I think the Logitech is actually more appealing. But I completely understand for, like, most people, they'd think, well, I just spent $50 more and get the Steam Deck. It can play games natively. But I'm thinking, like, if I'm at home, I'm not going to use a Steam Deck anyway. I'm going to use my PC, which is way more powerful than Steam Deck. So for me, this is more like a travel buddy. And I think as a travel buddy, it's a little bit better than the Steam Deck because of the Android apps and so on. So that's my thinking on it, And I get that for a lot of people, they'll just do a direct comparison to the Steam Deck, and they won't even think about the app proposition. I would rather take the Logitech over a Nintendo Switch, for example, because this has better battery life than Nintendo Switch for one thing.
Sure.
It's got more apps than Nintendo Switch for another thing. And, I can't watch offline Netflix shows on a Nintendo Switch, as far as I know. Can't watch offline YouTube videos on a Nintendo Switch, as far as I know. But with this, you will be able to. I could go even crazier. I could install Word on this thing. I could hook up a Bluetooth keyboard and use it as a damn laptop.
Yeah.
So for me, as an Android fan, the proposition is far more interesting to me, and I think of it like a tablet more than a Steam Deck, which I think of more like a little gaming PC using operating systems which, frankly, aren't designed for it. The Windows is not designed for a 7-inch display. I don't care what anyone says. It's not a pleasant experience using it on that tiny ass screen. So that's my thing. That's my thought process on it, and that's why I defended it, because I was like, I can see this fitting in my life, my lifestyle, a little bit better than the Steam Deck. That being said, it is pricey, and I think that being said again, Microsoft could get this thing down to $250, $200 at a push, maybe, by stripping out Android, putting a version of the Xbox Game Pass operating system on it, which is something they're working on. They work like for their I can't even remember the code name of it now. Their streaming console they were making, which I reported on. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
They're making a, as far as I know, that is going to be that's going to have a operating system that's unique to that device, because otherwise they have to use Google Play and they have to use Android, and then they have to pay Google a fee, which will inflate the price. So if they make their own operating system, which can run apps like Netflix, YouTube, whatever, then, potentially they could make a sort of a tablety kind of gaming handheld that could be cheaper, because then they can, they can sell the software for it, because Microsoft has said eventually you will be able to buy games to own on xCloud, not
Yeah.
just with Xbox Game Pass. That's
No.
not a leak. That's something they've said themselves. Well, I
Right.
did leak it last January, but they since came out and
Confirmed it.
said, yeah, that's
Yeah, that was when
confirmed
they
it.
actually officially announced that X Cloud and stuff. That was in their original like marketing. Was their vision for it, right? I think
Yeah,
Phil even said it himself. So.
yeah. So as we know, they're working towards that. So and they'll take so because they could offer the device at cost then, and then make the money back by selling your microtransactions in Fortnite and stuff like that. So I think they could sell it cheaper. But I still think they're sort of nervous about it, and they kind of want to see, maybe they want to see how the Logitech thing does, if there's even the infrastructure to support cloud, as a dedicated device rather than just a companion kind of service. I suppose they want to use this as a way to gather feedback, and Logitech themselves are being cautious with it. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of stock at launch. They're only launching it in America and Canada to begin with. So I think Logitech are being pretty cautious with it as well, because this is a very new sector and stuff like that. But I am quite interested in it because I can't find a 7-inch Android tablet that supports USB-C, which I can plug into one of these like that, for example.
Right.
Like that's the GameSir X2 Pro, which I need to review, which I haven't reviewed because I don't have a device that fits in it. My Galaxy Fold is too big.
Right.
And I tried to find like a smaller sort of Android tablet for it, but they just don't exist. USB-C mini Android tablets just don't exist. Can't find one anywhere.
You'd have to buy a phone.
So yeah, so I've actually I've got a spare phone in Britain, and I've asked my brother to post it to me, and now German customs has got it. So the review's got to be delayed even more. So but yeah, but this is the one I'm talking about. It's all this confusion, this complexity. Would my phone fit in this device? I have to carry this device around with me as well. And I have to use up my phone's battery life if I want to cloud stream. I can't use my apps and I can't see notifications when I'm cloud streaming. But this is a dedicated device for that scenario. Don't have to worry about controller clip. Don't have to worry about it draining my phone's battery. I don't have to worry about all that other stuff. It's just sort of a separate device, and I kind of like that idea. So that's my roundabout way of saying Logitech G Touch. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay. Do you think Microsoft is? I mean, you already said they're hesitant, but do you think they're looking at both like the Steam Deck and this, contemplating whether or not if they can get, let's say, the Series S hardware shrunk down eventually towards the end of this generation to fit a handheld, that they do something where it's native versus just cloud only? Or do you think the cloud only is the way to go?
I often see this argument a lot where people like, I saw a tweet the other day which sort of had me rolling my eyes, and someone was saying like, by 2024 there'll be a $200 Xbox Series S handheld, and like, everyone I've spoke to at Microsoft says like, there's a laws of physics problem here.
Right.
Yeah.
We're getting to a point where the power of a Series S, even optimistic projections, you would need like a house brick to cool that thing.
Right.
If you shrunk it down into a device small enough to incorporate a screen and Wi-Fi and all that other technology you need into sort of a tablet, it'd be a chunky kind of boy,
Yeah.
It'd be a house brick, and it'd be very expensive, and it would have probably a half an hour battery life because you got to use all that power to cool the damn thing,
Right.
So that's why, like, ARM chips for cloud streaming and stuff and mobile phones, they're super energy efficient compared to the AMD stuff they put in a full-blown console. And that's why every phone has an ARM chip in it, because you can't have an Intel chip or an AMD chip in a phone, because you need a beefy cooler for it. And I don't think we'll see a native kind of Xbox Series S until they can come up with some kind of magical new solution to cooling. Maybe they discover some kind of new element on Mars or something, which can
Wow, we're going that far out.
I don't know. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
seriously, that's how far. Like, look at like how incremental the new chips are from Nvidia, the 40 series GPUs. They're not super that far beyond the 30 series chips. Like not really. It's sort of like the time of massive technological advances every couple of years. It's kind of over with now because we're hitting up against the laws of physics. Atoms can only get so small, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there needs to be some kind of breakthrough to sort of circumvent some of these thermodynamic problems.
Quantum.
Yeah, maybe it is quantum, but even quantum has like loads of cooling problems of its own.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. I think like for the foreseeable future, what's more likely to happen than you get an Xbox Series S shrunk down to the size of a Steam Deck? What's more likely to happen is you end up with cloud better internet infrastructure, and I think cloud gets there first before like Series S or Series X can fit into a handheld. People often point to things like the Steam Deck and say like, well, look, the Steam Deck's pretty powerful, but it's not as powerful as Series S. It's just not. So it's the fact of the matter is it just isn't. And to the untrained eye, and when everything's squashed down into a small screen, maybe it does look as good, but if you blew that up to a TV, you'd notice that there's quite a lot missing, right? And then it's sort of like, well, could you maybe fit an Xbox One into a handheld? But then you're asking developers to continue developing for the Xbox One, right?
Right.
Which creates a whole load of other problems, and they're all developing for the Xbox Series S. And as we said earlier, Deathloop is crashing on the Xbox Series S. So you want to throw another SKU in the mix? Cloud just seems like the best solution right now. And I realize that not everyone has the best internet. A lot of American ISPs have data caps. A lot of countries don't even have xCloud, let alone having the infrastructure. I've got ADSL. I can't really, like in Britain, fiber optic. I can play Halo pretty reliably on my phone, but in Germany, I can't really go beyond turn-based games, really. Thankfully there's a lot of good ones, but but I think cloud gets there before the tech shrinks.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, again, there's going to be a breakthrough at some point. We always get breakthroughs where they finally figured it out, and limits that we thought were once there are gone. But I think that you're right as far as the internet goes, and as far as the cloud capabilities go. Again, Xbox and Microsoft are working so hard on getting development tools into the cloud. They want to start developing entire games in the cloud nonstop. This is a big initiative that potentially is the breakthrough point where the cloud gets so good that it's almost indistinguishable between that and native hardware. And I think that that's really where we hit the peak. Mav, you and I were in the DMs, and you said you were interested in the G Cloud. You thought that you would have more use for it, even though you have the Steam Deck. You thought that it would still be, something that you would use, especially to console stream, to your bed like you have been with NBA 2K23, because you can't get enough of the crack. For you, now that you've thought about it, do you still think it's something that you may look into, or is this something you're going to wait on? And what do you think about Microsoft eventually doing a handheld? Would it be something that you would definitely buy, or is it something that you would wait on?
If Xbox made a handheld, I would be there day one. If they did, I would be there. No matter like shit, it could cost like $800. I would be there. That would be like everything, right? But I'm kidding. I think if Xbox did it, it would be most likely a cloud-based device, right? And it would be at maybe that 250, and if they were really being ambitious, 200 range, right? Because Jez said all the things right. Like this Logitech device is a for-profit device, right? Like that's the way they got to make their money. Logitech is by selling the device. They have no other ways of making money. It's not like a PlayStation or an Xbox, right? Where they release it and then make all the money on services, right? And so with this being said, I think there's a lot of potential here for this. And I think I was actually talking to other people about this too, that I think this is a test, right, of the market as well, because there's got to be a first, right? Obviously it's not a first for mobile gaming. There's tablets out there, there's phones out there. As said, I'm using my Kishi and my phone all the time to play in bed at night and stuff. And for me, if I'm just looking at this from my perspective, like the way I think it makes sense for me is, okay, if I'm using my Kishi on my phone, right, that takes away my Twitter addiction, right? Because then I have to, if I get a notification or something like that, I have to get out of the app and then reopen it. I got to watch that dumb spaceship like go over, fly across the screen again, and I'm like, okay, then another notification goes off and I'm like, oh shit, so I don't like, especially my business too. If I ever actually did want to use it during the day, I can't, right? I can't. My phone goes crazy too much. I can't literally use my phone for mobile gaming during the day, right? So a device like this makes a lot of sense. Now, where it differs from the Steam Deck for me is that the Steam Deck has none of that ability just built in right away, like in front of the consumer, right? Like in order to get X Cloud or Game Pass, which I have it on the Steam Deck now, you have to hook it in and you have to do all this back end stuff to get it to work, right? And that's very like uncomfortable for me to even do. I was like struggling with it. I've eventually figured that out. But now, okay, well, I want to get console streaming to it. Well, that's a whole nother process. I got to go and I got to do that. And then that might require putting Windows on it and all these different things. So it's great for Steam. I think the Steam Deck is, and it's great that it has the ability to do all these other things, especially for the enthusiasts that are really inclined to do all these emulators and do all these different things. But if I'm looking at for what I play and what I want the most, I want to be able to play my Xbox games wherever I am. Steam Link is also on that, so it also has the ability to play stuff from my Steam library, and also it will have the Game Pass app and everything already built in too. So, and also if you can play native mobile games on there, maybe not the newest latest ones because it's not the most powerful handheld, right? Tablet out there, but you do have a lot of mobile games and a huge library that you can download and play natively, even from Google or from Android. I mean, so it's there's a lot of potential there. Now, I think the price point is an issue, right? Now, if we're not necessarily for me potentially buying it, but for like the mass appeal of a device like this. But again, when it's a device like this, when it's not really attached to a specific platform, and you have Logitech's trying it now, the Jez said Razer may be doing one in the future, and then who knows who else may be coming out with these devices. I think in turn, naturally, this is something that over time the price could just drop because of guess what? It doesn't need to be super powerful, right? Because you're mainly using it for cloud. And it's going to come down to consumer options, potentially having several different people out there making these devices down the road. And if you have like 5 or 6 of these in the market, it's going to come down to what's the best one at the best value. And it could be potentially if the future of with the cloud keeps getting better and better and better, which we know it is because we see that even in the past year from where it's gone to now. I think looking 2 or 3 years from now, there could be devices like this all over the place. And it could be something like $200-300 normal asking price. And it just depends on what you want. I would see the Razer one could be potentially a really good option because they do make good controllers as well. So they have experience with the controller hardware as well, right? I know Logitech does too, but I know that Razer has one of those pro controllers that people like to use a lot. I think that there's a lot of potential just in this space, right? And I am interested. I think this is something that could also potentially go on sale also because they do have that markup on the product to begin with. You may see, hey, a Black Friday sale for it, or you might see different deals here and there. So if it doesn't sell well, it'll probably drop in price significantly, and I'll pick one up then. If not, then I'm going to watch for a sale probably and pick one up for when I can. I don't know if I'll be day one on it because I do have a Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is magical for that native gaming experience. I don't travel or anything really, but when I'm playing in bed there as well, I'll just hook it up to my power so I can have it on ultra settings and play like Resident Evil 2 remake, like in amazing quality, just natively right there on my screen. And then I do have the Game Pass app on there too, but that doesn't help me for NBA 2K23 right now. Right? Because NBA 2K23 ain't in Game Pass, right? And it doesn't help me for any of the other games I own. In the future, it will, right? Because like Jez said, I think that they're going to be adding the games that we own eventually to that cloud library. Hopefully that's sooner than later. It's something we've a lot of us been waiting for. I would love that because I would love to do that on Steam Deck. And if that happens sooner than later, maybe it takes us out of the equation for me, right?
Right.
But we're not there yet. The other thing is like the people that have used it say it feels really good, like like actually, it makes a lot of sense to them. But I think the main hiccup is just price point, first entry into this market, really with this type of device, and we're going to see how it does.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I'm going to stick with my Kishi and my phone for the time being. So, but I think that if it was at $199 price point, I would think about it. Jez, do you have any idea how close we are to purchasing games on the cloud and being able to stream the own games through the cloud?
I think we're getting closer. I've got a suspicion that what they're going to do is they'll probably offer a subset of games first. Maybe games. There's a lot of unexpected mechanics and nuance to getting this running, because, for example, there's a lot of rules with regards to Google Play and Android that Microsoft has to follow with regards to selling content and services through an app on their store. For example, you can't offer a subscription through an app unless you give Google a cut. Right. Now, I don't know off the top of my head if you can subscribe to Game Pass through the app or if you have to go to the web. I think off the top of my head, you have to go to the web and subscribe outside. So I think it's kind of like, well, will they offer people the ability to buy games within the app? I don't think they're allowed to on Google Play at all, unless they do some kind of deal with Google. I don't know. But for example, Amazon, you can no longer, at least in Europe, I don't know if this is the case over where you guys are. You guys are in America, right?
Yep.
Or Canada or something. It's
America.
the same thing to me.
Pong's
North
almost,
America.
Pong's
We're all the
almost
same.
Canadian.
Yeah. You got snowy America and you've got mountainy America and deserty America. That's how I know it. But anyway, sorry, I've just offended everyone in Canada. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my Commonwealth brothers and sisters. No, long live the king and all that.
Yeah.
But I forgot my train of thought now. So so Amazon, in the Amazon app, they're not allowed to sell books anymore. Or Kindle books. You can't buy books in the Kindle app anymore as a result of Google saying, "Hey, we sell books. We don't want to compete with you, Amazon. So get your books out of your app, or we'll delete your app from the Google Play Store." Now, I'm pretty sure Amazon could probably argue in court with the European Union that they're being anti-competitive, but at least for right now, Microsoft, I don't think they can even sell their games through their app. So they need to come up with like a flow there for how people who are just on the app, how will they be able to discover and buy games? So they have to build new websites and new stores for that payment sort of flow. But then also you've got like third parties like EA and Ubisoft and stuff like that, and they'll kind of be like, well, hang on a sec, if you're selling your games on the cloud, you're putting your games at an advantage over our games, but also at the same time, we want to make sure that we have some kind of favorable deal in place so you can sell our content on another platform, basically.
Right.
So there's all these sort of negotiations that have to go on and all this complexity that has to sort of be worked through before they can do this. Microsoft can't just flip a switch and make this happen, because it's ultimately the content belongs to other people and other companies. And if they offer like their own games for like a pool, that could maybe potentially upset developers, and publishers and stuff. So I suppose like a lot of this is subject to negotiation. A lot of it's subject to like consultation. Maybe they want to, ask every publisher they work with, thousands and thousands, like before they turn this on. I hope that it will just be a blanket thing, and like every single game will just be there as a result of a policy change, and they'll have gotten approval from every single developer on their platform, and they'll just be like, "Yep, yeah, okay, turn it on," and then everyone is now all there. But because that's kind of what Nvidia did.
Right.
Nvidia just started taking people's games and slapping them on the cloud, and they're just like I was just like, yeah, if you own a game in Steam, it'll work with GeForce Now or something like that. And then companies were like, hang on a second, NVIDIA, you can't just take our content and make a service with it, you know. So like then developers started pulling their stuff off it, and then NVIDIA was blaming the publishers. They were saying like, oh, publishers reached out and blocked the games from GeForce Now. It's like you can't just take people's content and make a service with it. So NVIDIA just insane like that, but yeah, you know, that this is the kind of stuff Microsoft is exploring, and that's a sort of rambly, roundabout way of saying I don't fucking know.
Off topic, but I've always wanted to ask you this question, Jez. How long before we can play PC Game Pass streaming through our consoles?
That's an interesting question. I have like very little knowledge of what their plans are with regards to PC streaming. There was that rumor that it was coming soon because on the Xbox app, on the Insider Ring on Windows, on the Xbox Cloud Gaming section of the Xbox app on Windows 11, there is now a filter for mouse and keyboard games in the cloud.
Oh, see, that's what I want.
Yeah, and Sea of Thieves, there's only 2 games there off the top of my head. Sea of Thieves was one, and I can't remember what the other one was. But it sounds like someone turned that on early or something, because that kind of hinted that, well, why would you need a filter for mouse and keyboard games in the cloud when it doesn't support it right now? Well, it's because it's probably coming, right?
Right.
So it must be something they're actively working on. Timelines, I have no clue. I have no inkling on that. I don't know anyone I haven't got any sort of information on that. All I know is that Microsoft they've said officially publicly they want to do it.
Yeah.
And now we have this filter in the I don't know if is it still there. I'm just gonna have a quick check to see if it's still there.
I just think it makes so much sense to unify the two, that if I go get a keyboard and mouse and I want to stream PC Game Pass through my console, that I should be able to do it. I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to do that. So it makes too much sense.
There might be a sort of, I don't know, some kind of agreement sort of thing there. For example, like if you're streaming Death Stranding from a PC, for example, to your Xbox, is Sony gonna sort of be like, hang on a sec, does that make that a console game? Because they own the console version of that game,
right?
So there's a lot of gray areas that have to sort of be worked out, right?
Those are the battles I want, Jez. I want that to happen. It's the ultimate chess move.
I think sometimes these companies just got to test it, just do something and see what the reaction is. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting because all these problems and these like workings of having to figure out how these things are going to work is because technology has advanced to that point now where we're playing games differently than we've ever played before. You know what I mean? So it's a whole new business. It's a whole new way of looking at things. And people keep criticizing Microsoft for, oh, you're changing the industry. Well, the technology is really changing it more than anything. You know what I mean? And Microsoft is just one of the biggest tech companies in the world. So, of course, they're going to be at the forefront of that. But everybody's tech is changing. Everybody is investing in the cloud. Everybody's investing in mobile, right? You see it at Ubisoft and the Disney D23 show, like how much mobile stuff was there, right? The future of gaming is really kind of dictated more on tech than any one specific platform's decisions, you know? So it's just gonna be interesting how all these rules and laws play out. And I think a lot of what's going on with Microsoft and the things that they're talking about with the App Store policies and all that stuff are trying to get all of this ironed out because they want to do a lot of things that are not really crystal clear on what they're allowed to do right now, you know?
Yeah. It's very complicated, a lot of gray areas and all that kind of stuff, but they'll work it out. And eventually we'll get to a place where, you know, Microsoft's vision is any of your content on any device, you know, and fortunately there are a lot of gatekeepers on mobile. Apple, anti-competitive scumbag company.
Yeah.
No offense to Apple fans.
To say the least.
Google, slightly less anti-competitive, but still anti-competitive scumbag company. And then there's no one else. There's Apple or Google or nothing. Well, there's the Samsung store. Like Samsung phones have their own store, and the Game Pass app from the Samsung store has more features than the Google Play version.
Right.
But obviously, nobody uses a Samsung store. Not even Samsung phone owners use the Samsung store.
You're right. I own one and I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, the Game Pass app actually, because the Samsung has less rules about how you use their store, and as a result, Game Pass on Samsung has more features.
Wow.
I'm going to download that now because I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't know it was different, man. I've got to go delete my Google Play version. Screw Google.
Jez, how you doing on time, brother? We didn't talk to you behind the scenes, so I just want to make sure we're cool with you. So
I'm getting a bit sleepy now.
I saw your yawn, so that's what I'm asking. You got what do you got for us? You got 30 minutes? You got an hour? What do you got left?
Should I say 30 minutes?
Okay. All right. So let's jump into some fun here.
I like how you gave him an option and not an out to leave now.
No, there was no now. Come on. We gotta give him a little bit longer. No, I appreciate you, Jez. Thank you, sir. So let's get a little fun. Let's look in the crystal ball here a little bit, Jez. Let's talk about this real quick. We know what this year was like for Microsoft first party. It's spilled milk at this point. We're in September, coming in October. It is what it is. It turned out how it did. We've had some surprises, but nothing, from the AAA first party side of things. And then, looking ahead to 2023 and what we all believe on paper could be one of the greatest years in the industry, period, no matter where you're gaming at next year. The lineups look ridiculous as of this point when you take them in totality, right? But just looking at Xbox coming up next year, Grubb had put out during one of his shows the previous internal roadmap before it got all blown up, and they had scheduled, Xbox did, for 2023. They had Avowed, Fable, Perfect Dark, Everwild, Hellblade 2, Contraband, In Exile, Compulsion's new game, Coalition's next non-Gears game. They had all those lined up for 2023 internal. Now, obviously, we know that's not all happening. We know that at this point. But for you, Jez, we know Forza, we know Starfield, we know Redfall. But after that, we've got some second-party games that we think in there as well. Stalker 2 is now in question due to today's rumors, but we'll see how that plays out. But for you, Jez, when you look at first party and from what you know of, we know Avowed is switching over to Unreal 5, and that's part of the reason why we didn't get to see it at the showcase and why it wasn't in the 12 months. What do you think happens next year, Jez? How many first-party titles do we get out of next year, realistically? And in your wildest dreams, where do you think it winds up next year as well?
Man, that's a tough question because I honestly don't have developer sources like Jeff does. So I don't know. I have no I don't even have real hints about where the state of some of these games are.
That's okay. We're in speculation town. You just
speculation town.
Yeah, you can just do your Xbox 2 thing, but I don't know. I could be wrong. Okay, so just do that and roll with it, man. So go with it. What do you think?
Well, man, it's really hard to say. Like, I want to believe that we'll see Avowed next year, but rumor is that it's delayed. I do think next year will probably be pretty stacked. Contraband is a game that when I originally leaked Project Typhoon, as it was known back then, I had a 2022 launch window for Contraband, I think, but that was years ago. So
that's like almost 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it was a long ass time ago. That was like that document, I think, is maybe even before the pandemic happened. So it's kind of like, obviously it didn't make 2022. We didn't even see it teased within 12 months in the Xbox showcase. You'd think if it was going to be ready for 2023 in the first half, they would have shown it off at the Xbox showcase, right? I think like we could see games that are further out at TGS maybe, because I got an inkling that they're going to do this. These games are coming in the next 12 months of Xbox, and maybe they'll show Contraband off there and imply that it's targeting the holiday season of next year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it sounds like a complicated game. It sounds like quite a unique format and there's a sort of like every expectation that maybe they sort of want to redevelop parts of it or add parts of it, because from what I understand about Typhoon is that it revolves around car chases, avalanches, vehicular combat systems, and it revolves around heists and theft and stuff like that. And and it's sort of like, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I don't know if you can get out on foot and use a car like Grand Theft Auto, for example. I have no idea if like it's well, actually I think I do know it's meant to be a service game. I think it's meant to be a service game with social hubs and stuff like that. But I don't know if like you can actually get out of the car, and I don't know if you can pull out a gun and shoot random people. Like I don't know to what extent that it goes beyond the vehicular combat, So like if it is more complicated, maybe like, and during the pandemic, maybe it gets delayed out to 2024, So like I can't help but do this sort of long-winded analysis when people ask me these speculative questions. So I don't like being wrong,
Right. No.
Yeah.
No.
If I was just gonna purely guess, I would want to believe that Avowed is ready for the end of 2023. But in my heart of hearts, I don't believe it right now.
Okay.
I think at the very least we get Forza and Starfield. I think Starfield is going to be massive enough that it could carry the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we literally saw Skyrim re-enter the top 20 on NPD.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
These games, like, it's the modding tools, man, and like you got to expect, because Starfield has like a lot of planets with sort of city hubs on the planet, but Bethesda has made very public the fact that a lot of the planets that you'll be able to land on are basically procedurally generated and blank.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to believe that's intentional, because they're going to say to modders, here you go, make a planet,
right?
Right. And you're going to get these like planet-sized mods for this game. I think people are going to be playing Starfield in 20, 30 years, probably.
Yeah.
God only knows what people are going to do with a galaxy-sized Skyrim. That's basically what it is, right? It's a galaxy-sized Skyrim. So, I think Starfield could be good enough to carry the whole year. And I think Mr. Matty Players on Defining Duke speculated that Starfield, maybe they delay that even more to the fall. And I honestly would not be surprised if they did. And that's not based on any inside information.
Yeah. Right.
That's just based on the fact that everything constantly delayed right
Yeah.
now. And I know for a fact that after the debacle that is Halo Infinite, they desperately need a win. They need Starfield to launch perfect. If that means delaying it another 6 months to like November, I think they'll do it, because they don't want to be in a Cyberpunk situation. They don't want to be in a Halo Infinite situation. That game has to launch perfect. So, and maybe they'll just be like, well, a lot of third party can carry the year, and we'll make sure everything that we've got is polished, because where Microsoft wants to be, they want to be known for quality.
Right.
And that's the sort of the missing piece of everything on the Xbox platform right now is a steady cadence of high quality games. And I think if like I don't think they'll want to jeopardize that just for the sake of rushing games out. I think they can put stuff on third party and stuff and make sure everything launches in a high quality sort of state. So it's just really hard to sort of put a speculation on what games I think we could see next year. So I honestly don't even want to try.
Right.
Because I don't want people to take it out of context and say Jez said this game's launching in 2023. And,
yeah.
I don't even want to try.
No, I get you. We just have fun and speculation time all the time, but we don't have the power you do.
I do have a question. So, what do you think they're like? I know a lot of their internal talk though was like they want to go for one a quarter. Right, one a quarter or whatever. But when I was breaking down, and a lot of it was due to all your code project names that you've leaked in the past as well. I kind of had done a big look ahead at the amount of projects that are in development at Xbox, right? And it's just absolutely staggering, right? You have, I think there was like 35 that actually even had names, and then beyond that, there was like all these projects that were rumored that didn't have names yet. But we also have straight acknowledgments of them as well, like games like from like Tango Gameworks that John Johansson said that they said that he's working on a game right? Evil Within 2 directors working on a game, right? And other things like this. And I think they're actually pushing for like more than one a quarter. Because if you take in all of the games that we know now, right, that exist, plus you add Activision Blizzard to that catalog at next year, I'm looking at who knows, maybe like two a quarter, or maybe one every couple weeks. I don't know. It just seems like absolute staggering the amount, because even with the amount of projects that we had, if you took it to like a 5-year time span from today, it equated to more than 4 a year. It equated to like 6 or 7 a year, which is pretty staggering, right? And I don't think there's too many that we know about right now that are going to be more than 5 or 6 years out. I couldn't imagine that, right? So, what are you thinking? Like, you think that they're really going for like a potentially even more than a quarter on that, or you think that's just because I foresee that with the amount of projects that they have?
I mean, you've got to imagine that's probably where they're going to end up, right? They're going to end up in a state where it's like, they can't, they have to concede that they're going to have to launch 2 AAA titles that quarter. Some of those are going to be multi-platform. Like, I can foresee, like, even if the deal closes before Diablo 4 launches, Diablo 4 is obviously coming to PlayStation. They've announced it for PlayStation. The development's almost finished for PlayStation. That's definitely coming to PlayStation, right? But I can foresee like some other franchises continue to launch on PlayStation. Like, I could see Diablo 5 launching on PlayStation, for example, potentially. I could see, like, obviously we know Call of Duty is going to launch in perpetuity on PlayStation. I could see like maybe some other Blizzard franchises continue to, like, if they ever did an Overwatch 3, I think Overwatch 3 would launch on PlayStation as well. So like a lot of these multiplayer service games, they don't necessarily need to be spaced out, I think. So like you could launch Overwatch 3 at the same time as Halo Infinite 2 or something, potentially. So they can serve different purposes. They can serve different markets. Overwatch would be a big, free-to-play hero shooter. And then Halo Infinite's a little bit more chaotic with the big team battle, and then a little bit more tactical with the arena mode. They serve different purposes, right? So yeah, I think totally we will end up in a place where the games will overlap in the quarter. We'll see like 2 shooters launching in a quarter. We'll see 2 RPGs launching a quarter. They've got mountains of RPGs launching in development. How can they possibly space some of those out?
Like as you said, maybe Avowed hits next year, right? Starfield and Avowed potentially could potentially happen the same year, and maybe at worst case scenario within only a year apart.
Yeah, I mean, for my money, it's like you could just get away with launching Starfield and Forza next year, and then there's a mountain of third-party games coming out anyway. Like Diablo goes into Game Pass once the Activision Blizzard deal closes, so that can be like your big Game Pass launch. Diablo 4 hits going straight into cloud. Diablo 4 in cloud is going to blow it up. Like Diablo 4 is the ultimate game for cloud. It's like the alternative to Diablo Immortal. You've got a whole audience already playing Diablo on their phones, and now they can get a better version of Diablo on their phones. It's going to blow up xCloud in a huge way, Diablo 4, I'm sure of it. So like they could get away with treating Diablo 4 as a first party game. Starfield's going to be massive, make sure that's polished up, and then Forza for you sports fans. And then you're going to have like big updates for Halo Infinite, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and your service.
Well, you're going to have Redfall too. For sure.
And you're going to have Redfall, obviously, yeah. So you got Redfall as well. So even with just that sort of small, very conservative estimate of what they could do next year, Microsoft could really take their time and just be like, yeah, let's give Avowed another year. Let's give Contraband another year. Let's give Hellblade another year, and really invest in these games to get them up to that Sony level. Because that's that holy grail, isn't it? The holy grail is getting them up to that Sony level, Game of the Year sort of ridiculous blockbuster level that always eluded Microsoft, frankly.
Right.
They've never really had games on that kind of level, for me anyway, like personally speaking.
Well, they had the Forzas, and Halo had its moments, but
all they have to do is only make games in one genre and use the same tech on all their games, and they'll be able to get that to happen, right, Jez?
Yeah.
Just speaking.
I just mean since the Xbox One era, they've just been on the back foot, right?
Right.
But
They have. They have, and I agree. I think that quality is a big focus now for them, obviously, internally. And I think they're going to do whatever's necessary to make sure the games do come out, like you said, as polished as possible, and not have any more missteps. I think that is a huge key. And that's why I said the 12-month format that they went to for announcing games makes total sense from the standpoint that that's what they're going to focus on, because that's what they're going to know for sure. And they're going to stop giving people so much ahead of time, and then people complaining, oh, you guys showed us this thing 4 years ago. Well, games nowadays might start taking 5 and 6 years to come out because of the polish, because of the quality control. That's exactly what Microsoft is going for now. So we can't expect everything to be pushed out the door just because we are used to, a 4-year cycle. We can't have that anymore. It's going to take as long as it takes to get it right.
Yeah, and I think where we're at. We talked about this too before, Pong, when a lot of people were saying like Game Pass is going to be bad. They're going to just have a bunch of AA stuff and all these things, and it's just going to rush cheap games out to fill the subscription services. And we've been making this argument from the start. Like, I think like this is actually subscription services actually change the model within Microsoft potentially, where they're not looking at an individual game's profit and loss as just an individual thing. It's about how many subscribers do you get into a service, right?
Right.
And how many people does this draw in? And if you put shit in there, nobody's going to be interested in it, right? So for me, it's almost gave them more opportunity to where they're not looking at individual games the same way anymore, as they're looking at the whole structure of everything they're providing as one pipeline, and then funneling into the service and getting the recurring revenue back from that, which is allowing them to do delays like they did with Starfield and other things, where they're not looking at, okay, well, if we don't release this now and we have so much money poured into it, then we're not going to make our money back on it. So we gotta get it out, and we're gonna, regardless of the state of it, like pull an EA, right, or whatever, and then potentially see no return on that. They're not necessarily thinking about that as much as like, okay, what's the reception going to be on this game? How much attention is it going to get? How much demand is there going to be? And how many people are going to come subscribe to our service? And if so, I think it's kind of changed the mentality with that, and putting more emphasis on quality, right? And even as bad as Halo's Infinite's post launch has been, right? The making that original decision for that year helped that game tremendously to at least get the quality pushed up there. And we saw Forza Horizon 5, what kind of quality that is, Flight Sim, what kind of quality that is, right? Now we've seen more time was given to Double Fine for Psychonauts 2. They got that game to where that was as well. And it is a thing that's a reality there with their attention to quality. And I think that's maybe part of the reason we haven't seen some of these games yet as well. Whereas in the past, they have a deadline, they have a budget. You exceed that budget, you necessarily need to get the game out, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of the way it usually had worked before. So.
Nope, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Jez, I know you're getting tired, brother. We're going to get you out of here. Real quick, before you go, can you break down, because the ABK deal, everybody's focused on Call of Duty. We just had Satya come out today, more comments saying, not worried about it, think it's going to go through, it's going to be fine. If you want competition, then let's have competition, all this good stuff. But everybody's been hyper-focused on the Call of Duty. And we know it's a big deal. But we also know, if you take a step back, that that's not the whole deal. You, with your knowledge of Blizzard, how, from your standpoint, when the ABK deal goes through, just give me a quick breakdown on what, outside of Call of Duty, outside of the Activision side of things, but with Blizzard and even King, what that's going to do for Microsoft in the future, where they're going with that.
Well, obviously, King gives them a massive foothold in mobile, which they desperately need. And then you've got like Blizzard, which gives them it gives them a front against Tencent and Riot Games, and gives them a massive foothold on PC. But then, like, there are some other really interesting comments that Phil Spencer's made, which is with regards to back catalog. Mm-hmm. He mentioned StarCraft, bringing that back. He mentioned Skylanders, which is the Toys to Life game, which maybe that's something Microsoft wants to do. Like, maybe they've looked at like what Nintendo does with the Amiibo stuff, and they're just like, yeah, we want a bit of that. That'd be cool.
Right.
And so they look at that too. And they also mentioned Guitar Hero, which I thought was really interesting because Activision own a lot of technology patents as well, with with regards to some of that stuff. So he's obviously thinking very broadly about how can we deliver more value and further diversify Xbox Game Pass. How can we cater for every single niche? And I think a lot of this is that Netflix DNA coming through, because a lot of the people running the Xbox Game Pass strategy were poached from Netflix.
Yep.
And so the content strategy of Netflix is go broad, cater for every niche, every sort of genre, demographic. That's how you grow to the scale that Netflix has grown to, which is, tens of millions of subscribers or hundreds of millions or wherever they're at now. Yeah, Netflix has shrunk this year because they've got a lot of competition, but they're still a dominating force in the streaming space. So to turbocharge that rapid growth, they went really broad and they catered for every genre. And right now, Microsoft's using indies to do a lot of that heavy lifting. A lot of cool games that blow up and go viral, like Power Wash Simulator, for God's sake, of all things. And some of these sort of viral sort of hits and these little sort of games here and there. That's doing a lot of that good stuff. But when it comes to like headline grabbing things, like your Squid Game or your, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, like some of these like big AAA TV shows that Netflix runs, Microsoft wants more of them, and there's only so many only so many times you can sort of grab attention with some of these franchises, and a lot of them take a long time to make and stuff like that. But you can see a future where it's like we have a whole community who are dedicated to everything Toys for Bob makes, like a Crash and a Spyro and Beanox and stuff like that. And even if these games, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, even if these games never sold that amazingly well at retail, they can create a dedicated pocket of fans and some permanent life subscribers of Xbox Game Pass, because Crash Bandicoot fans are incredibly passionate.
Right.
I last a few months ago I leaked details about the Crash Bandicoot brawler, which the community knows as Wumpa League. I don't know it. I know it was Project Lava. I've never heard of Wumpa League before I got the information about Project Lava, but I was stunned at how passionate the Crash Bandicoot community is. So even though like in Activision Blizzard's eyes, Crash 4 didn't sell enough to justify, continuing to push the franchise as a single player game. But with Game Pass, it works.
Yeah.
Because you keep that passionate fan base subscribed, maybe forever. They'll subscribe for Crash 4 and 5, Crash 5, and they'll be appreciative, and they'll stay for Crash 6, and they'll stay for Spyro because there's a bit of overlap there. Maybe you do spin-off games of other Crash characters, so there's a whole like little niche there, because ultimately, even if someone's only subscribing for one game, that's all Microsoft needs, right? So you need a game for every single category of people, every single niche, every single genre. And I think that's the other big benefit here. Obviously, it's Game Pass, and becoming the Disney of console gaming, really. Well, I suppose that's Nintendo's bag to some degree, but I think Microsoft is definitely pushing in that direction where they'll kind of want to be like, we have these franchises and these characters, and we do care about them at the same level as Master Chief or Marcus Phoenix or whatever. Even if like Crash Bandicoot 5 isn't going to sell 50 million units or whatever,
right?
As long as it drives like a few million Game Pass subs, or even a few 100,000, that to Microsoft that is a victory, So that's ultimately the goal right now, and I think we're beyond the mobile, beyond the PC stuff. Having some of those nostalgic franchises revived under the Game Pass banner is ultimately what they want, I think. And they've pretty much said that much.
Yeah.
So I think it's really exciting what they'll do. But again, we're talking years and years away.
Right. What will BattleNet do for them? Would it help them?
Now, that's an interesting question. I have no idea what their potential strategy is with BattleNet. I've argued that they should replace the Xbox app with the BattleNet app and just make it BattleNet Game Pass or something like that. Because BattleNet is a huge, and BattleNet's a huge nostalgic platform, right? And obviously they're gonna stick StarCraft and Diablo and all these they're gonna stick all these classic games from BattleNet into Game Pass on day one. World of Warcraft's not going to be there though. Like, I always get this question: will World of Warcraft be in Game Pass? And it's like no, because why would they? The game is subscription based. The whole game is funded by a subscription. So like if you put that on Game Pass, you're kind of killing the game, So because people are already subscribing to Game Pass, so you need both subscriptions really for that game to work. But maybe there'll be perks, Maybe like if you subscribe to Game Pass, you get a discount or something. I don't know. But they won't get rid of Warcraft sub completely. But they'll put Warcraft 3 there. Maybe they'll make a Warcraft spin-offs. Maybe they'll do like I don't know. I've always thought the Coalition would make an amazing StarCraft shooter.
Yeah.
It's like
StarCraft Ghost. Bring it back.
You could literally use the same engine. Marcus Phoenix is basically a space marine already. He's heavy weapons and hulking armor, and they look like Marcus Phoenix looks like a StarCraft space marine. So, there's a lot of stuff they could do there. But I don't know what they'll do. I think like for the foreseeable, they'll probably keep them separate. Maybe they'll do something like merge the friends lists or something.
Yeah.
But BattleNet, frankly, has better technology than Xbox Live. So
right.
It's faster. The voice codecs are better. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Xbox uses Skype or something as its backend. I don't know what that whole deal is, but I prefer BattleNet. But it's going to do big for them, across PC, mobile, and even console. I want to see Prototype come back, man.
Yes.
Prototype. Give us 100%. Prototype back.
I agree.
Prototype can be your Spider-Man allegory.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting, man. It's exciting.
Oh, we could have True Crime, GTA clone. It'd be nice to bring that back too.
Is that Activision?
Yeah, that's Activision.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, True Crime would be a big one. That was first on my list when I heard about this. It would be fantastic to have a GTA clone. All right, Mav, you got anything left for Jez, or should we get him out of here, brother?
No, I think he's been patient with us, and he's been amazing as here. And I know we put the show early, especially for a special time, just to be able to get him on the show because it was. He was like, wait a second, that's like 1 a.m. or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, we gotta let's do something and see if we can't figure that out. But dude, Jez, it's been awesome having you on, bro, and we gotta have you on one of our other shows. Maybe make a special time for one of our other ones at some point as well. But keep doing what you're doing at Xbox 2 and Windows Central, bro. It's absolutely amazing.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, Jez, it's been an absolute honor, sir. I've been following you guys for a long time over the Xbox 2. Been following your work, obviously, on Twitter since I jumped into this community. Again, big influence on me personally for our podcast, Steel Rain and I, who did Living Split Screen Saturday mornings. You guys are one of the main influences for our two-man show there as well. So appreciate what you and Rand do here, and obviously all the work that you do in the community, all the information you bring us. It's invaluable. And again, appreciate you in so many different ways, but thank you for giving us your time coming on the show. Do you want to let anybody know where they can find you, what you got going on, anything coming up here, any articles
also,
we should be looking for?
Tell them about y'all's Patreon y'all just launched for Xbox.
Yeah, that too. Yes.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to plug it.
I'll plug it.
For it.
Yeah, we launched a Patreon, patreon.com/XB2, number 2. We don't want to take away anything from the free show. Like, we're not going to put any exclusive information or leaks or anything in the behind a paywall. But it's just community oriented stuff. You'll be able to vote on what gameplay we use. There's a tier where you can advertise your own podcast on our podcast, for example. There's a tier for mail-ins and Q&A priority and stuff like that. But it's mostly community oriented because I want to save up for skin surgery. Like I said before, I used to be for over 420 pounds, and I lost 200 pounds in my 20s, getting it back. and then I lost another £100 last year. And I've got all this nasty stretchy skin, and I need to cut it all off, and it costs a lot of money. So I'm just like, yeah, let's see if I can save up for it. I didn't want to do a GoFundMe or something like that because it's ultimately my fault that I was that way in the first place. So I thought, like, at least with this, I can sort of generate some extra money to save up, and then also try and give back on the side with community stuff and the extra show that me and Rand are going to do on Tuesdays, extra live show where I'm going to stream gameplay for that one. So you'll be able to pick what games I play as well. So like, if you want me to suffer with a horror game or want me to play Peppa Pig, there'll be that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, or My Little Pony, as I know that y'all are talking about that one a lot.
That's awesome, Jez. Again, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Chat, put up your hands, put up the clap emojis for Jez Corden of Window Central, the myth and the legend. If you didn't hear my intro, go back to the beginning of the show after this is done and go ahead and listen to it if you want to find out more about Jez. But no, Jez, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for giving us your time. You go get some sleep, brother, and we'll talk to you real soon, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Just, it's been awesome to be here. You guys are really awesome. I always see you guys rocking in our chat and, on Twitter and stuff. And you're great dudes. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Guys.
Yep, later.
Pong Soul, what about
yes,
you,
sir?
Bro?
What about me?
Where can everybody find you?
You want to do outros?
Well, yeah, let's go for it. No, you want to keep going and just let Jez? Okay, hey, we'll let you. We can keep going. We'll let you.
I thought we were stopping. I thought you were going to go.
No, we could go. I didn't know what we were gonna do.
No,
we didn't plan on the end.
Yeah, we didn't play.
Yeah, so that's funny. No, we can get everybody out of here. So,
yeah,
Pong Soul Xbox, Pong Soul Twitter. You guys know the drill there. You know where you can find me, and I will follow you back, obviously. And then, obviously, tomorrow night, Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, right back here on Fun Speculations channel. Saturday morning, Living Split Screen, my brother from Another Steel, Rain and I, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Be there, 3 p.m. BST time. We are on mission 1K. We need to get there, so we need your help. So please tell a friend, bring a friend. It's going to be 3+ hours. I don't think Steel or I have anything going on, so we'll probably go 4+ hours this weekend. So be there Saturday morning. Saturday night, the Shop Podcast, PTK Blam's channel with Fuzzy Belvedere, PTK, of course, and myself, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Tuesdays, if I'm not there, don't matter. You got to be there. Xbox Factor Podcast, Mr. Boomstick's channel. You know the drill. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. All good things green. Be there every Tuesday. And then back here Thursday for PM and the PM next week. Back, supposedly, we'll see, at a normal time. But otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there. Enjoy this time. It's no better time ever to be a gamer than right now. Play what you love what you play. Mav, tell them what you got going on and get yourself out of here, brother.
Yeah, I realized we did miss one super chat from John TJ. He did his earlier with the $5 one.
I missed it.
Sorry, appreciate you, John TJ. He said, why didn't Microsoft put money into the R&D of that handheld, make it the same specs of a Series S, and use Azure? Well, I think we kind of addressed that. I think that maybe they will, but that Logitech G Cloud is not Microsoft's device. They're just partnering on it to get their application on the device, right? So if they could make Logitech drop the price on that, I'm sure they would, but it's not their device. So, but appreciate you, bro. And yeah, for me, guys, I'm gonna be playing some Call of Duty tonight on stream, so check that out. Instead of PM in the PM at our regular time, you get Call of Duty beta stream. So check that out tonight. Tomorrow is Xbox Ultimate Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to go have a lot of fun this week. We got a lot to talk about, and it's been a crazy week in gaming. Also, we'll kind of continue some of our conversations we had here. And then Monday's Fun Speculation Podcast at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Then we do game streams, co-streams, everything here. We try and cover as much as we possibly can. And again, thanks to Jez here for being here. Amazing guest. And we'll go back to a 2-man show format for a little while. And then when we'll get some more awesome guests on this show. We try and reserve our guest spots for like really like big creators or big time like YouTubers or whatever, people in the community that have put a lot into the community that we get to discuss all of their projects and stuff. And I almost feel bad. I almost want to DM you every week, Jez, like, hey Jez, can I talk about this? Because like this is literally your thing. You know what I mean? Like, I just watched Xbox 2 and you broke all this stuff out.
Talk about it,
yeah. So, but yeah, I appreciate everything you do and all this stuff. And, but hey guys, have a good one. Take it easy and we'll see you next week.